Pokemon Scarlet and Violet surely will be bringing back countless favorites from the series, but what Pokemon shouldn't return in Scarlet and Violet? In today's video, I want to discuss the top 10 Pokemon I think should not return in Scarlet and Violet. Since we're surely going to not see every Pokemon in these games, I at least hope these 10 are left out in favor of Pokemon that are more interesting, whatever the reason may be. If you want to see more Pokemon top 10s leading up to Scarlet and Violet, leave a like on today's video, and subscribe for more content just like this. With that said, let's get started with our number 10 entry. Starting off today's list, we have the first Pokemon I would like to see not return in Scarlet and Violet, being Gothitel. Gothitel is the absolute bane of most competitive players' existence due to the ability Shadow Tag, which makes Gothitel one of the most absurd Pokemon in the game. Whether you utilize this in singles with a set designed to PP stall, or in VGC when paired with a Perish Song Pokemon to score 2 KOs. Gothitel is the epitome of a Pokemon that is not fun to play against. Gothitel being left out of the game would mean at worst we only have Dugtrio and Wobbuffet for viable trapping Pokemon, neither of which have nearly as strong of a presence as Gothitel. Even as far as an in-game Pokemon goes, Gothitel isn't the most useful Pokemon. If you were to use Gothitel in-game, most likely it's either competitive or Frisk, neither of which are very useful in-game. With how documented Pokemon games are, Frisk isn't really useful in-game, in any capacity, so you'd need to really hope for competitive to get any actual use from Gothitel. Even still, there's going to be so many other psychic options in the game. With that in mind, Gothitel is the first Pokemon I hope doesn't get in the Scarlet and Violet. Our next Pokemon on today's list is our most recent pseudo-legendary Pokemon, Dragapol. I typically don't really like pseudo-legendary Pokemon anyway, as they evolve way too late to enjoy on your journey typically. But even among pseudos, Dragapol evolves extremely late, taking until level 60. The odds are you'd be lucky to use a Dragapol on your Elite 4 team at all. So this is basically a post-game Pokemon for most trainers. Not only this, but Dragapol also being last generation pseudo-legendary should take a back seat this time around. I think it'd be more interesting to let the Gen 9 pseudo-legendary Pokemon take the spotlight instead. Why throw in so many pseudo-legendary dragon types in these games when we can give an opportunity for our new late evolution dragon to have its time to be enjoyed by trainers? While Dragapol is a cool Pokemon in general, I think taking a back seat this time around would make sense, which is why I have it at number 9 on today's list. Our next entry is a joint one, being both Gyarados and Melodic. The reason for these actually specifically stem from their pre-evolutions, being Feebas and Magikarp. For several generations now, these have basically been considered our useless fish Pokemon on journeys. And I think cutting both of these could open up new doors to try a new face on the trope. Seeing what Game Freak designs as the new Splash Fish would be really cool, since both of these Pokemon have become fan favorites over the years. While there are plenty of other fish Pokemon that could potentially be cut instead of Magikarp or Feebas, I think cutting these two would open the most potential for a fresh new fish Pokemon. Every game needs a basic fishing rod Pokemon to encounter, and adding in something new from the earlier parts of our journey instead of reusing Magikarp or Feebas for the umpteenth time would be a way to give this region its own unique charm. With that in mind, both Gyarados and Melodic share a spot on today's list at number 8. Our next Pokemon is the only early bug that I hope gets cut, being Butterfree. Butterfree got a Gigantamax from last generation. Meanwhile, Beedrill was cut entirely. While I understand why Butterfree got a Gigantamax form, considering Beedrill got a Mega, while Butterfree got nothing, at least Butterfree was in the ORAS games at all. Seeing Beedrill get such disrespect in these games, even after 2 sets of DLC, I think these games would be the perfect opportunity to give Beedrill some time to shine. I do want to mention though, I don't think Beedrill would need any special treatment to make up for this. However, I think that just cutting Butterfree while adding Beedrill would honestly make up for the difference here. There are so many other bug and flying types that could return for an early route bug type instead, such as Vivillon or Mothim. So Butterfree isn't even some extremely vital Pokemon to these games. Even without introducing a new early route bug flying type, cutting Butterfree would honestly be just fine. We have one more joint entry on today's list, being the Galar fossils. This is the point in the list where I actually go from just thinking they should be cut to actively wanting these Pokemon gone. The Galar fossils were a really cool concept, but they would be absolutely broken outside of the Galar region. While I acknowledge this mostly falls on Dracovish, it makes no sense to only cut Dracovish, hence why this is a joint entry. Dracovish's signature move, being Vicious Rend, is already enough to get it banned from singles. These moves doing twice as much damage just by outpacing the opponent are already near impossible to even take a single hit from. But if you were to use these moves in a format without Dynamax moves, you'd basically be able to use a Pokemon that is a one-hit KO machine. Even if you don't care about competitive, these Pokemon are absolutely terrible in the games. Their only saving grace is the signature moves, which you can't even actually obtain until the early 60s. Similar to the pseudo-legendaries, these Pokemon are borderline unusable until the late Elite Four. With that in mind, I think we should leave these Pokemon in Galar forever, which is why I put these at number 6 on today's list. We've talked about how late pseudo-legendaries evolve, but among every pseudo-legendary Pokemon, our number 5 entry is the worst offender. Hydragen is a very cool Pokemon design-wise, but you won't be able to see it in your journey in most Pokemon games until the post-game. Taking until level 64 to evolve, this goes beyond anything reasonable to be using during your journey. I get wanting to use your favorites, but there are several games where using Hydragon at all for the champion would mean you had to overlevel it several levels past their ace. We also got to see Hydragon in our last games anyway. While I understand that by DLC 2, every pseudo was usable, maybe this time Hydragon can wait until then instead. At least something like a Metagross would be usable before the champion. Even still, we have so many pseudo-dragons this time around, it's time some get cut in favor of some more unique Pokemon. Hence why Hydragon takes number 5 on today's list. Moving on to our number 4 entry, we get into everyone's favorite pink blob, Clefable. Clefable has been an essential piece to defensive teams for generations, and I think it'd honestly be interesting to let some other defensive fairy take the spotlight. I don't even think Clefable's broken, but it's so influential to stall teams, and even some balanced teams, that seeing Clefable go would be in my eyes the easiest Pokemon to remove that'd not only shake up the metagame, but also be practical to expect gone. Pokemon won't cut legendaries unless they're mythicals, so since we can't get rid of either Heatran or Landorus easily, let's remove Clefable. While there are other stall behemoths such as Blissey or Toxapex, they both actually lack in one area that is very unique to this evolutionary line, being their doubles presence. VGC isn't really a stall-oriented metagame typically, but but Clefairy actually has a strong strongholds on doubles as a support Pokemon thanks to Friend Guard. I think it'd be interesting to see what Pokemon could be utilized to fulfill this role with Clefairy's absence. Whether it's another returning Pokemon like Jigglypuff, or something new entirely. I hope the removal of Clefable and its lower stages will shake up competitive Pokemon going in the Scarlet and Violet. Moving into the final 3, the next Pokemon I'd love cut from these games is Garchomp. I'm sure many of you are tired of how much I say you shouldn't use Garchomp on this channel, but my reasons for Garchomp being in these games are beyond the typical pseudo complaints. While Garchomp still definitely has a late evolution at 48, there's worse Pokemon in that regard. While it is another Dragon pseudo, again there are others that could be picked from to cut out. So why do I have Garchomp above every other pseudo on this list? Well, Garchomp actually is the only pseudo-legendary that was in all 3 of our Generation 8 games, being Sword and Shield, BDSP, and Pokemon Legends Arceus. Even if you don't count all of these as Gen 8, Garchomp is the only pseudo-legendary to actually be a part of all 3 games. Not only this, but for BDSP, Garchomp's basically the flagship pseudo-legendary of these games. I hope Game Freak decides to shine a light on literally any other pseudo-legendary in comparison, even one of the others I previously mentioned. With that in mind, I'm looking forward to giving Garchomp a game off, where it can gladly sit in my Pokemon home, waiting for whatever comes after Scarlet and Violet. Our runner-up on today's list comes from a VGC staple in Gen 8, Grimsnarl. Grimsnarl is basically the perfect package as far as support Pokemon go. It's a dark type, which makes it immune to other prankster Pokemon going for taunt. Not only this, but against other prankster users like Whimsicott, you can actually fire back with the taunt of your own to shut down other support Pokemon. Grimsnarl also has strong bulk, Sucker Punch for offensive priority, dual screens, even Fake Out. Grimsnarl is actually insane, and if not for the Dynamax metagame we currently are involved in, I think it'd show just how broken this Pokemon truly can be. Without Pokemon utilizing Dynamax to break Grimsnarl through screens, Grimsnarl will potentially become too overpowered for VGC in my opinion. Very few Pokemon even compete for a fraction of its support arsenal, let alone can still do that job consistently. Not only this, but Grimsnarl is a fairly late evolution anyway. Taking until level 42 to evolve, you'll still have to wait until badge 6 or 7 to obtain an actually useful Pokemon. While not to the same degree as Pokemon such as Garchomp or Dragonite, Grimsnarl's later evolution doesn't help in its case when trying to get a spot in my ideal Scarlet and Violet lineup, especially after just being featured in Sword and Shield as a new Pokemon. I wouldn't actually mind taking a game without Grimsnarl. While this isn't the main reason though, it's honestly just icing on the cake, keeping it in our second place spot. Our final entry may honestly surprise you guys, but I'm hoping Scarlet and Violet cut Ditto. While I understand Ditto is a vital Pokemon to competitive as a whole, that's actually precisely why I'm hoping for Ditto to be cut. Before getting into why I want Ditto to be cut, I think it's important to acknowledge what Ditto actually provides for the games. Ditto is a Pokemon that makes breeding even somewhat manageable for players. One of the first things competitive players will do each gen is hunt a 6 IV foreign Ditto for breeding. But that's actually the root of this issue. I want to see an overhaul of how we are able to obtain competitive Pokemon going into these games. Every generation, we get some improvements to the accessibility for competitive Pokemon, but why does the main method need to be breeding? Similar to how I think removing Clefable will shake up player mentality for approaching team building, I think removing Ditto would force Game Freak to redesign a system with at least some other options that at least are as good as breeding, if not even quicker. With how much the popularity of competitive Pokemon, especially VGC, increased in Gen 8, it makes sense to only make the barrier to entry even easier to any incoming players who may start during Scarlet and Violet. While I appreciate the changes that have been made to make breeding easier, at a certain point, cutting Ditto and making a new system entirely just makes more sense in my opinion. So that's my list of the 10 Pokemon I want cut from Scarlet and Violet. Pokemon has hundreds of options, and by the next games, probably over 1,000. So I'm sure some of you may have a favorite Pokemon on today's list that I suggested should be cut. So if you disagree with my list, leave yours down below. I'd love to read yours and see what you want cut. If you enjoyed, leaving a like on the video is a great way to let me know you want to see more content like this. And don't forget to subscribe for more top 10s leading up to Scarlet and Violet. With that said, I'll see you guys real soon. Welcome back to the outro, folks, your favorite part of the video. Thank you for enjoying another Mystic Umbreon video. We made it through the end of the 8th generation, and now we begin the long trek into late 2022 where Pokemon Scarlet and Violet await us. It's a whole new world we'll live in, but we still gotta catch them all. However, there's still a ton of videos to do and experiences to have until then. If you're interested in more Mystic content, check out my TikTok and the Mystic Umbreon Shorts YouTube channel. If we get the 10K followers on TikTok, I'll be doing a viewer's choice video. If you like Genshin Impact, check out my Genshin channel Tebachinary. So if you all enjoyed, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more. See you next time.